Industrial enterprises need to understand is that we're in a time of change, whether anybody likes it or not. And the decisions they make will define who's the winners and losers in the future. For example, if enterprises choose to spend 3,000 pounds to have individuals in trucks looking at utility poles, as opposed to spending 100 pounds for wireless devices on the poles, then what will happen in 3 to 5 years is they'll be acquired by somebody else who has embraced the digital innovation that's going on in the industrial space right now. So you can choose not to move forward. You can choose to stick with traditional approaches, air gap everything, not connect everything. But what you're really doing is you're reducing your competitiveness, you're reducing your profitability, and you will not be among the winners in the future. What industrial CISOs need to remember, if they're going to be successful, is at the end of the day, it's about alignment with the people and organizations above them, particularly the board of directors. What a CISO needs to be able to do is produce long-range plans, typically preferably a 3-year plan, to get the C-suite, to get the board to agree to that and actually sign off on it, so that as incidents occur, positive or negative in the future, they can refer back to that and say, as we discussed. So as we discussed, we all agreed to do incident response planning in 2018. So therefore, perhaps we had an incident in 2017, we weren't as prepared, but it wasn't the CISO making that decision, it was the entire executive and the board making that decision. So there's a number of industrial standards that have emerged in recent years. Some regional things like the North American Electric Reliability Council, Critical Infrastructure Protection, the NERC CIP standards, and there's good lessons learned to be taken from that and other standards. One I particularly like is the Industrial Society of Automation, ISO 99 standard, which deals a lot with zoning and segmentation. How do we separate networks out? This is instantiated as a standard through IEC, it's the IEC 62443 standard. And compartmentalizing networks is extremely logical. It follows the flow of industrial operations. There's right now, one thing at Unisys we're quite happy with is micro-segmentation using cryptography to create virtual zones of virtual segmentation. So we have technologies that do this. We work with industrial vendors to make their products standards compliant so that the practical realities of dispersed and distributed devices in the cloud, for example, can be implemented in the same way as they would be physically. So if you could physically separate the operations or the production or the development into different zones, in different ISO 99 zones or IEC 62443 zones, that allows the architecture of the network to be better defended in present and in the future. The key market needs in the industrial cybersecurity space, looking at it from the vendor perspective, for security vendors and ICS vendors, is to understand the realities of the environments they're deploying in. And this is something that the industrial control system vendors understand very well. This is the world they live in. It's something that the cybersecurity space tends not to understand so well. The cybersecurity community is used to dealing with IT networks, these fungible networks that are created and destroyed and changed every day. In the industrial world, you have long-term planning, and you have safety, human life, national security issues, and various other extreme consequence scenarios. So security vendors and security experts looking to help the industrial world need to understand those pragmatic realities of long-term planning, diligent implementation, and the inability to do some of the things that security people are used to. Quite often you'll have a device that's been running perfectly fine for 12 years without rebooting. So to talk about vulnerability management, all you need to do is patch that device. May fly in the face of the operational realities of the industrial operators.